Hey, this is Ethan Roebuck with Reliant Roofing. Today I want to do a little experiment with you all. There are several different roof preservation or rejuvenators on the market, and I've called around and I've been able to get my hands on a couple different types. There's soy-based, there's siloxane, NanoSilica is another one. And then there's a Copolymer blend, and then I'm going to compare all those to an untreated shingle. So this is a unique experiment. Don't know if anyone's ever been able to do this, but like I said, I was able to get my hands on these different products, and I want to do some testing. So as you can see, this first one, this is going to be the soy-based. We are going to test, I've got the shingles already marked here, but I am going to test for shingle flexibility. I am going to test for shingle adhesion to see if it helps with the shingles sticking together a little bit better. I'm going to test and see if it increases or improves water permeability, water resistance. I'm going to check to see if it helps with granule adhesion. And then finally, I'm going to do a hail impact test and see if these products, to see how they hold up to each one. So the first one, Soy Methyl Ester. Second one is going to be this NanoSilica. The third testing is going to be Shingle Shield Max, that Copolymer. And then finally, our control group is going to be untreated shingles. So I'm going to do some testing and guide you guys through the process, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks. Hey, Ethan Roebuck again. It is March 29th, so it is 19 days after I last treated these shingles. If you remember, we're going to run them through a battery of tests. We're going to do a flexibility test. We're going to use the Hagg's brittleness test. We're going to bend the shingle up, see if it cracks or deforms in any way, see if any of these products hold up to that test. Then we're going to check for granular adhesion, see how well the products hold up. In that regard, we're going to also do a hail impact test, quotation marks. I'm going to have to improvise that. I used ChatGPT to do some analysis and figure out the impact force of a slingshot. So the impact force of this slingshot is in the ballpark range of the class 4 2-inch steel ball drop impact test. They both generate about 30 joules of impact force. Once again, I'm not a scientist, I'm a roofer. But this is in the ballpark. So I'm going to stand about 10 feet away, launch a projectile at the shingle, see how that holds up. Then we're going to look at the water repellency. We're going to see how well these shingles hold up in that regard. And then last, I want to see how they hold up, see if any of them were tacked back down the tar strip, see if any of them are adhered better to themselves than they were before. So without further ado, let's get testing. Okay, so as a reminder, this first section of shingles was sprayed with the Soy Methyl Ester. As you can see, pretty uniform look. Honestly, doesn't look too much different than the untreated section. The next section was this NanoSilica. You can see it is a bit darker, maybe a little blotchy in some places. The texture here, it is flexible. I'm not honestly quite sure what is going on there at the bottom of the shingle. But the next one is the Posi-Coat or the Shingle Shield Max solution. Really doesn't look much different. Maybe just a very slight sheen to it, but that's about it. And then finally, the untreated control group. So first test we're gonna do is flexibility. I'm gonna do the flexibility test on the Soy Methyl Ester product. We're gonna take this shingle, we're gonna bend it up, down 3 times, and it should lay back down. If you come up here, take a look. I'm gonna say it passed the test. There's no visible crease in the shingle. The shingle seems to be holding its integrity, so we'll call that a pass. Next, we'll move on to the NanoSilica. We're gonna take this shingle, same thing. I'm gonna bend it up, down, up, down, and one more time, back down. Yep, starting to lay back down. No visible crease. We'll call that a pass. Next one down here. This is the Shingle Shield Max. So we're gonna test this. Bend, bend, and bend. Once again, if you take a look, no visible creasing. I'm gonna say it passed. And last, these are untreated. These shingles are all probably about 25 years old, so that's how old these are. So we're gonna bend that up. You probably couldn't hear that in the video, but I did hear very minor tearing underneath that fiberglass underneath. Yeah, I just heard it again. So as you can see, look at that. There's cracking. You can see a visible line there. So I am going to say that it was a even pass on all one of these products. They all added proper flexibility back into the shingle. All right, so this test, I'm gonna see if any of the products helped at all with the tar strip adhering better to the shingle. And I've already went through and tested a few of these. Honestly, when it comes to the Soy Methyl Ester product, I don't know, it's hard to tell. I don't think it did much. A lot of these are still broken, just as they were before. So in a perfect world, I would come through and with some tar, come through and re-tack these back down. The NanoSilica, take a look here. Okay, that one's broken, that's broken. It's hard to tell exactly which ones were already broken before. Yeah, that one's broken. So maybe a little bit better than the soy based solution, but there's still a fair amount of them that are not tacked back down. So, you know, I'd come through and fix that as part of the tune-up beforehand. The Shingle Shield Max, we'll test these. Okay, that one's broken. This was the one I test, so that's not fair. That one's broken. Honestly, maybe similar, tad bit better than the Nano. Similar, once again, you'd still have to come through here and fix these, put some tar underneath them, make sure they're tacked back down. Then last, this is the untreated section, and there's quite a few that are broken. So I would say that between the NanoSilica and the Shingle Shield Max, there's probably a tad bit of a benefit there with helping the shingles stick together a little bit better. Once again, both solutions would still require you to come through, do a tune-up, fix all those, but there probably is a slight increased benefit there with some of the shingles sticking together better. All right, now I want to do granule adhesion. Now I just want to clarify, these shingles, they are about 25 years old. And honestly, for a 25-year-old shingle, even the control group that is untreated doesn't really have a whole lot of granules falling off. So what I'm gonna do, this roof was not cleaned beforehand. In a perfect world, I would clean it before doing this, but this actually leads to a good example, because if you take a look here, there's a bunch of this algae that's on it. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna see how easily this algae scrapes off. So this is the Soy Methyl Ester product. I'm gonna just take my hand, gradually just rub it over that spot. You can see, fell off, honestly, with no effort, just kind of fell right off. So I'm gonna say that there's really not a whole lot of adhesion properties to this solution. Probably not going to do a ton in regards to the granules being adhered longer, because that moss kind of just fell right off. So let's move on to this part. This is the NanoSilica shingle. There's a bunch of these little spots here, same as the other that have this moss on it. So we'll just take my finger gently. As you can see, that just scrapes right off, no issue. So once again, you know, I wouldn't say that this is gonna do a whole lot in regards to keeping your granulars on longer, maybe a little bit. Now this one, so here we are. This is the Shingle Shield Max. So there's a couple spots right here, and I'm gonna rub my finger there just like I was before. I mean, honestly, it's not coming off. Like I said, in a perfect world, I would have cleaned this roof before I did it. But, wow, yeah, it's not coming off. So I'm gonna say these granules are pretty locked in there. And then last, control group, no big surprise. These are gonna just peel right off like nothing. Okay. So I am now going to improvise a hail impact test. Typically, as you guys know, your roofers, that's done with a 2-inch steel ball, dropped from I think about 20 feet. Obviously I can't do that on a vertically standing roof. So the best thing I'm gonna do to replicate that is use the slingshot with a projectile here. And I'm gonna go through, do all 4 of these, and then I'll follow back up and show you where they all hit, and we'll see what the damage is. All right, let's take a look at what the slingshot did to the shingles. So you can see this is the Soy Methyl Ester. Now, that's obviously some pretty bad damage. What I did is I shot 3 or 4 projectiles at each section of the shingles because I wanted to replicate a couple different scenarios. I wanted to try to get towards the edge of a shingle, more the middle, see what it did. So you can see there at the edge, it destroyed the shingle. Now here towards the middle of the shingle, a little up, actually did a pretty good job, the Soy Methyl Ester, of preventing a whole lot of damage. Now, once again, this was another shot here at the edge, completely destroyed it. And then another one there in the middle did a decent amount of damage. So that's how the Soy Methyl Ester product held up. This is the NanoSilica. So you can see there, still left a divot, but honestly did quite a bit better job than the Soy Methyl Ester. This one right here at the edge of the shingle definitely made a divot, but it didn't penetrate. So I would say it did a little bit better job than the Soy Methyl Ester. Over here, this is the Shingle Shield Max. So I gotta find these spots. This was one, not very much of a divot. There was a couple granules that fell off there, but now that those are gone, everything else is intact. There was another spot, because I did fire 3 here. Oh, right here. Yeah, I can barely see that one. I mean, very slight damage. This one, now this one was the biggest damage that was done. Now, the shot, and this was just by accident, but the shot hit a section of the shingle that already had 0 granules. So this did do the most damage out of all 3 shots, but still didn't penetrate. And for not hitting any granules, so all this did was hit the underlayment, that fiberglass mat, still didn't even penetrate it. Pretty crazy. And then last, just as I kind of expected, this was the control group, just total damage. I only fired 2 shots because it proved itself pretty quick. Okay, so last test here. I'm going to take a cup of water. I'm going to throw it on each section. and then I'm going to come back, just right after, 30 seconds, minute after, and see how well it has repelled the water. So I will do that next. One, throw it up there. That was on the soy methyl ester. This one is on the NanoSilica. It did roll off of there a little bit better than the soy methyl ester. Next one is going to be the Shingle Shield Max. Okay. Yeah, that just rolls right off. And last, untreated. Just throw that up there. Okay. So I'm going to give that a minute just to kind of let it soak in, run off, see what it does, and come back. All right, it's been about a minute since I threw that water on there. This is the soy methyl ester. Shingles are completely soaked. I would say it really didn't do a whole lot, if anything, when it comes to water repellency. Next one is the NanoSilica. It did a better job than the soy methyl ester. You can see the water kind of beating up and rolling off in some places, but these shingles are soaked. You can see, you can see the difference between the shingles that got hit with water and those that didn't. You can see that it's definitely soaked in there a little bit. This is the Shingle Shield Max, and I cannot even tell where the water hit. The outside of some of these, they're actually not even that wet. But, I can't even tell that water soaked in at all. Just rolled right off. And then last, this is the untreated shingle control group. As expected, shingles are completely soaked. There you have it. All right, so you all have seen the testing firsthand. So what I did now is I put together a little chart that just outlines, in my opinion, if you think otherwise, let me know, but what I thought each different shingle application did under the various tests. So we have flexibility, tar strip, whether or not it reactivated that tar strip, made any difference at all, granular adhesion, impact rating, and then water repellency. So to start off, just the general overall look, I would say that in general, the soy methyl ester probably had the better look out of all of them. When I say that, I don't think it was that much of a difference compared to the normal control group untreated shingles, but if I'm being honest, I asked my wife's opinion. That's the one she said looked better. So I will give that one the win there. But the NanoSilica darker, as you can see in the video and the picture, but it was blotchy and dirty. When I say dirty, when I touched it, there was that kind of tarry substance that came off of the shingle. I'm not sure what that's all about, but didn't really have a uniform look. Maybe that will go away as time goes on, but after 19 days, it wasn't looking really well. And then the Shingle Shield Max, very faint sheen. Honestly, I could barely tell a difference between the Shingle Shield Max and the control group. I thought they looked almost identical. I could feel the difference. The Shingle Shield Max had a smoother feel to it. You could definitely tell there was a filament over it that was protecting the shingle. But from a aesthetic perspective, you really couldn't tell anything. Then we had the flexibility. They all passed, in my opinion, compared to the control group. When I bent that shingle up 3 different times, they all performed as expected. They all put the flexibility back into the shingle. The tar strip, the soy methyl ester, I noticed no change. None of the shingles seemed to be sticking together any better than they were before. the NanoSilica. There might have been a very minor change. Same with the Shingle Shield Max, minor to maybe a mild change. Nothing extraordinary. If I or when I go and sell these jobs as part of the whole package deal, I'm going to go through and take a little leaf blower, try to blow up some of those shingles, see if I can get them to lift, and if I can, I'm going to put new sealant underneath them to tack them back down. Granular adhesion, the Soy Methyl Ester and NanoSilica, I noticed no improvement, but when it came to the Shingle Shield Max, I would say it was a major improvement. Even the moss and the debris that was on top of the shingle, when I went to go try to scrape that off, it was on there. You saw me, I rubbed my finger over it just like I did all the other shingles in this scenario, and the moss and the debris would not come off rubbing it. So I would say that from an adhesion perspective, when it comes to keeping the granules on the shingle, none of them performed in the ballpark of where the Shingle Shield Max did, which is huge. Impact rating, you saw I had my makeshift hail impact scenario. I shot the slingshot projectile at the shingles. I did 3 to 4 shots per section just to get a good gauge on kind of where each one would hit. The Soy Methyl Ester, I noticed there was mild damage, so it may have helped the shingle a tiny bit in sustaining less damage than it would have otherwise. The NanoSilica and the Shingle Shield Max, I think, were almost identical. I shot those projectiles at the shingle, and really it was honestly impressive, because compared to the standard 2-inch steel ball drop from 20 feet test scenario, this was a much smaller ball that was fired from a slingshot. So even though the impact rating might be similar, it was more concentrated. And when it hit the shingle, you could definitely notice damage where it hit. But in both the NanoSilica and the Shingle Shield Max, it did not penetrate fully through the shingle, whereas with the Soy Methyl Ester, 2 out of the 3 did actually penetrate through the shingle. So I would say NanoSilica and the Shingle Shield Max did a fantastic job when it came to the impact rating. When it comes to water repellency, there was one clear winner. The Soy Methyl Ester, there was next to no repellency that I noticed. NanoSilica had a very minor repellency compared to the control group. The Shingle Shield Max had major repellency. As you saw in the video, when I splashed water on each section, all the other shingles were saturated with water except for the section that was treated with Shingle Shield Max. So it clearly keeps the elements out much better than all of the other test scenarios. So in my opinion, if I had to pick the winner, it would be Shingle Shield Max. I think that it outperformed the others in every category. NanoSilica probably tied it in 1 or 2 of the categories, but overall, Shingle Shield Max, I think, did a fantastic job. And in this scenario, it would be the one that I would highly recommend to the homeowner. So I appreciate you joining me through this journey. Hope you find it interesting. Hope you find it educational, and perhaps you can use it to win a few jobs. So appreciate you joining, and take care.